Thanks to LL Bean for presenting today's storybook with limited commercial interruption.
I'm Melissa Nicolli. I'm a vegetation biotech for the National Park Service's Inventory and Monitoring Program. Today, I'm at the John Day Fossil Beds National Monument in Central Oregon. I have the wonderfully rewarding job of getting to monitor the vegetation resources within the park. The information that I collect can help park staff make informed management decisions that protects their native plant communities. I love working for the National Park Service.
Here we are. Yeah. You remember Noah?
Noah, thank you.
Oysters taking off all over the country. It's not just Maine, it's kind of everywhere. In Georgetown, lobster's been the thing, and that's on the outside of the island on the Sheepscot. The inside, Robinhood Cove, has been very quiet for a few generations now, not much activity. But with the advent of aquaculture, more specifically oyster farming, it's really starting to take off. We've been farming oysters now for 4 years. Mark and I always wanted to do something together. My previous career didn't really allow for that, and when we discovered aquaculture about 4 years ago and received much encouragement to start the farm, I convinced him to quit his job, and I was already retired. And so the bank of mom and dad gave us some startup capital, and we went at it. At Eros, we're trying to diversify. We think we're pretty solid now on the oysters. We've established our reputation, and now we're going to be adding hard clams, quahogs, and mussels. Another thing we started at the farm is a U-Pick service. So local folks can come right down to the farm, and if we're out on the water and we're not there to help them, they can help themselves. And so we get a lot of local people enjoying the farm, coming down, spending the afternoon. So that's worked out pretty well. We have a very unusually sweet tasting oyster. The restaurants and consumers love it, and so we don't want to mess with it too much. We think our oysters are super sweet because we're very close to the bottom of the cove, and that's a huge saltwater marsh, and it's the food factory. So all that primordial soup sweeps through the lease twice a day. We get 2 tides a day. So on the ebb tides, and they're filtering all the time, they're chowing down on those goodies. And then twice a day on the flood tide, they get a saltwater wash, which sort of refreshes their palate for the next feedings.
Oysters are really awesome. A lot of people will liken them to the wine of the sea. Merroir is the term that they use to describe the way that oysters from different locations and with different husbandry farming methods will really bring out the nuance and special individual flavors that can come from just different places. A lot of oysters come right out of Casco Bay, and it's remarkable how oysters that are coming from really geographically close to each other can taste incredibly different just based on the depth that they're farmed at, what else is going on around them, like what's growing around them, etc. We have oysters coming from up the Damariscotta River. Eros oysters coming from Robinhood Cove are a really delicious, unique, approachable, wonderful cocktail-sized oyster. Definitely something that can be enjoyed by everyone. They have a really sort of nice sweetness to them, a brininess, nothing that really lingers on the palate. It makes it really good for someone who's maybe just starting to get into oysters. They're really delicious, enjoyed raw or baked or broiled like we have right here today. The nice deep cup in them makes for a nice, like, kind of plump, meaty oyster that isn't going to disappear when you cook it. It maintains a lot of its texture and snappiness and sweetness through that process. We really pride ourselves in being able to show off the really diverse and delicious offerings that Maine has.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey, Billy.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Take these voices from you.
All right.
Take that. Sounds good. How are things?
Things are good?
Yeah. Awesome.
You too?
Yeah. No.
All right.
Doing it every day?
Yeah.
It's really hard. You're not kidding about the plumpness on these.
What's that?
You're not kidding about the plumpness on these.
Oh yeah,
They're so
it's the meat
beautiful.
inside that's really plump now. So this time of year they have kind of a mahogany
Right.
color to them. Sure. In the summer they're more whitish.
Sure. So 3, 2 to 1.
3 to 2 to 1 is what we shoot for. 3 to 2 to 1. Not and that's just a ratio, not 3 inches by 2
Sure,
inches.
sure, sure.
So, yeah.
That's great.
This is our 4th year selling. It was such a good year last year that we pretty much ran out of oysters, and we wanted to be sure we had enough for the spring, so we stopped selling as of January 1st. Every year is a shortage of oysters, and the reason for that is because a lot of oyster farmers try to sell off everything they have in the fall, and then they have nothing in the spring until the growth starts in June and July. We try to, by keeping an inventory, we try to stretch that out. We've been using this time to get ready for next year. It's a big year for us. We're mechanizing the nursery instead of passive wooden trays in which the oysters rely on the current to feed. We're going to have, they're called upwellers, and they're mechanical nursery operations where we actually pump the water from the cove through the oysters so they're eating 24/7. The objective being to get the oysters as big as we can before they winter over. And this system should probably double the size of our oysters. We're a new farm. We're only 4 years old. COVID's almost all we've known. So we don't have a good baseline to compare to, but we're always selling out. We can't keep up with the demand, and just talking to other farmers and the restaurants, it's been banner years. I mean, it's the best of times, it's the worst of times. At first, we were concerned that the restaurants were going to be shutting down, and so we started online direct-to-consumer sales, FedEx overnight, and as it turned out, we didn't need that, but we've continued with it. It's kind of fun, selling directly to homes, and that gets larger every year. It's about 5% of our sales now, and we sell all over the country.
it's more important than ever to realize that like just restaurants aren't the only ones that are struggling with the pandemic, but everyone that restaurants support are also feeling that impact, whether it's farmers, fishmongers, oyster farmers. It's a much far-reaching hand than I think most consumers realize. So for us, it was really important to build ourselves, like kind of stitch ourselves into the fabric of Maine and our surroundings, working with like directly with farmers, directly with oyster farmers, and doing as much as we can to directly support the people that in turn support us.
We really loved being able to create a community around what we're doing here at the restaurant, specifically talking about our oyster farmers, the produce farmers we work with, the ranchers, the fishermen, anybody that we can have a one-on-one conversation with and know their story and be able to translate their story to the plate and to the guest experience. That's really important for us, and be able to support them and have them in turn support us. That's a really big thing for us to be able to kind of bring it full circle a little bit more so than just serving oysters from Maine. You know, so no, these are Michael's oysters from Eros down in Robinhood Cove, and you know, he's bringing Noah by to drop off his oysters with him, and it's a great family affair, and it's a beautiful thing to see. You know, the younger generations get really excited about food in a way that they may not have if they weren't so closely connected to it with a familial connection, and it's really wonderful to be able to create that community based off of what we're doing here.
At Native Maine, we work with over 88 local farms and producers across the state. It's such an honor to be able to work with such amazing farmers and manufacturers.
We really value our partnership with Native Maine. They're just a great group of people to work with. When you buy from a local business, that local business owner is using that money to pay local people to work and then go out into the community and spend those dollars. Native Maine can do that for us, and we can focus on growing the food.
We're the pros at growing the mushrooms, and Native Maine are the pros at distributing them.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Plate the State. We are down in Kennebunk at the Hancock Lumber Kitchen Design Showroom, and we are so grateful that we get to film here. We had so much fun with the whole Eros Oysters family, and we hope you really enjoyed seeing how these incredible oysters are grown and harvested and brought to you. And don't worry today, if you don't like raw oysters, we have plenty of cooked options for you. And we are going to start with today's chef's tip. Chef, you ready?
Ready to go.
All right, let's get shucking.
All right, guys, we're going to be talking about oysters today. I know they can be a little intimidating, and you see these all around. Restaurants all around Maine have them. We have the best waters on earth, cleanest water for these bivalve little guys. But they're super easy to open, okay? I'm going to show you how to open one raw, and then I'm going to show you a trick for opening a lot of oysters. So the oysters have a top and a bottom. You can see how they're curved on the bottom, okay? And they have a little kind of a wedge right here. And if you can see it, it's almost perfect for oyster knives. And I have a few of them out here that you can tell they have little points on them and a little bit of blade on the side, okay? All right, so what you want to do is you always want to have a nice towel down. You don't want the oyster sliding around on your cutting board. That can get a little bit dangerous. So I like to have a nice thick dish rag here. They do make safety gloves. If you feel comfortable, you can use those too. I like to put my oyster inside here and get my knife right under the side, and you want to do a down, spin, up motion, kind of like a J that spins, okay? So we're gonna get inside, we're gonna pop our oyster in pretty effortlessly, and then with just a little spin. Now, there's an abductor muscle here that we need to slice through, so keep your knife going against the top of the oyster, all right? And you wanna just pop it right off. Once you have that, that's that muscle we were talking about. You want to spin the oyster around after it's released, so you have a nice presentation side, just like that, okay? All right, if that still looked a little maybe difficult, I'm gonna show you a nice easy way, and it's perfect to open a lot of oysters at once, and it takes out a little bit of the effort of popping them open, okay? So what I have over on the stove right now is some boiling water. I'm gonna take these oysters, I'm just gonna drop them in for about 40 seconds, just enough to help release that abductor muscle, and then plunge them right into ice water. Let them chill, and then I'll show you how we can just pop them open really easy. As you can tell, after we blanch them in that hot water just for a second, you can see the knife can slide in so easy. They've just barely popped open, okay? They're still raw inside, but just barely popped. So now it's so easy to just come right around, no effort. And the shell will lift right off. Did you see that? Now you have this beautiful oyster. It's kind of plumped up, okay? And then again, just want to flip it over. Look at that little guy. Beautiful. And I like the look of these oysters a little bit better. See how you can see they're nice and plump here compared to the nice, the raw ones. The flavors will still be the same. You'll still have that nice brininess. Super easy way to open oysters. For this tip and all of our chef's tips, follow us along at platethestate.com.
We're getting there to sunnier days, being with the ones we love, and now with those you've missed. This is you remastering the art of life. And while you're getting back at it, we'll be here to help you master the art of money. Norway Savings. Live your life in color.
This week's Pantry Tip is brought to you by Norway Savings Bank.
Hi, and welcome to today's Pantry Tip. This is, I think, one of our most fun ones, right?
Yeah, this is going to be fun.
It's going to make you feel like a real chef. Now, most of you, when you eat oysters, you have some sort of mignonette, which is shallots, red wine vinegar, and black pepper. But you're going to show us another really fun garnish.
Well, I like cocktail sauce on some of my oysters, right? But sometimes cocktail sauce can take over everything. So this is gonna be a fun way. We're gonna show you how to make some cocktail sauce pearls. I know it sounds, oysters and pearls, that might be a little on the nose, but this will be a really fun thing to do. I have a little bit of horseradish and some water. Don't worry about the recipe, it'll all be online for you. So Maggie, I want you to squeeze a couple lemons into there. Now, Maggie and I like spicy, so I'm gonna use just a little bit of hot sauce here instead of the normal chili sauce that you would put into a cocktail sauce. And we're gonna stir that up, right? Then you wanna bring this up to just a light simmer, just very, very light simmer. While that's simmering, this is gelatin sheets. Now, you can find these online, they'll have them at bakeware stores. I'm pretty sure LaRue can carry them for you, all right? Just like powdered gelatin, you still need to bloom these. So put them into a bowl, cover them with water, and they'll get nice and squishy, okay? What you wanna do is you wanna take that gelatin and put it in with the cocktail sauce that you have on the stove. So this is what it looks like, okay? This is just simmering. It's a little bit more viscous now because of the gelatin that's in there. You wanna transfer that into a squeeze bottle that you have, or you can use like an empty mustard bottle or a ketchup container that you have, okay? It should just be about like body temp, right? Just like body temp, okay? Now here, I have some cold oil. Now this is just canola oil. I put it in the fridge overnight so it's nice and cold, okay? And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna drip these in, okay?
This is the best part, it's like science class. So come a little closer so you can really see what's going on here.
All right, so as the gelatin, which won't dissolve in the oil, but since the oil's cold, by the time they sink to the bottom, they firm up. So think of these as like little pearls or little cocktail sauce gummy bears, okay? All right, now that these have sat for a few minutes, we're gonna strain them out. So you just kind of scoop them up from the bottom. And you want to let some of the oil drip out. And then we'll spoon some of these little cocktail sauce and we're going to put them right over the top of our oysters. And since the oil kind of separates them, you can tell when they mix with the oyster brine, they look like little pearls.
And this is a really fun thing to set up for your guests, and you can use any water-based thing to do in the pearls. So sometimes we do champagne or pomegranate, and then you have this really fun selection of bright colors. And if you have them out in a buffet style, putting them in metal sitting on top of ice is going to really help prolong their shelf life and usability. And those just look delicious.
These would be great at a party.
Yeah.
For this recipe and all of our pantry tips, follow us at platethestate.com. And when we get back, we're gonna fry up some oyster buns.
See you in a minute.
This summer, Portland, Maine hosts the 2022 Maine Outdoor Film Festival. 3 weekends of outdoor films shown outdoors at the Gulf of Maine Research Institute, the Eastern Promenade, and Après. So, whether you spend your day on the trail, ocean, in the mountains, or enjoying Portland's many cultural and culinary options, we'll see you at MOF in the evenings. Each night will feature a shorts block or a feature-length film related to outdoor adventure or conservation from some of Maine and the world's best adventure filmmakers. Mark your calendars. Advance tickets go on sale April 1st.
We've been working with Brown Trading for 8 years. They're one of the largest importers of caviar in the country, and we're so lucky to have them right across the street. Caviar used to be kind of like this only for rich people type thing, and I mean, it's really not.
There's so many caviars, I mean, it's every price range. I'm really proud to be a part of Brown Trading because our desire is to help expose more and more people. It's good for you, it's now sustainable, and I think it's just awesome.
This is a great snack recipe we're gonna be doing now. Some fried oyster buns. I shucked a bunch of oysters. This is just some rice flour, which is just basically rice that's been ground up fine enough, and it's almost like cornstarch, it's so fine. Some sparkling water, rice flour. By mixing these together is a perfect recipe for tempura. So you could use this same recipe for chicken fingers, for broccoli, for any vegetables, for oysters. So you want to mix it up just until it's a little bit thick. I want to make sure you guys can see that. If it's too thin, you can add a little bit more flour. If it's too thick, you can add a little bit more water, okay? Perfect, that's just the right consistency. So while we're gonna go fry these up, Maggie's gonna show us how to make the slaw.
This quick slaw makes a great topper for these buns. So you're going to have some purple cabbage. Green is totally fine too if that's all you can find. We just like this for the color. So you're going to have some of that, some scallions, plop them on in. Just a few zests of a lime here for that acid and that brightness. And then I have a dressing here of sesame oil, black vinegar, and rice vinegar. Put that in with a little salt and pepper. And then we're gonna mix it up to coat and then let it sit for, 3, 4, 5 minutes and let all those flavors really come together. And then we're gonna go ahead and put them on top of the buns. All right, slaw is ready.
Perfect. Look at that slaw. Now the color, when the vinegar comes in, it's gonna make this almost like a magenta, right? Why don't you go ahead and put a little bit on there, and I'll explain some of the rest of our ingredients here.
Perfect.
There's some Thai basil, has a very almost limon aroma to it. A little bit of cilantro, there's some pickled chilies, and underneath I spread a sambal and kind of QP mayonnaise underneath that. And that's gonna give us a nice rounded flavor.
Oh, I can't wait to eat these. So our wine stylist, Kat from Sopo Wine Co. went right ahead and knew that a Cava Rosé would be perfect because bubbles and fried food somehow is just a perfect pair. And she just knew this would be an excellent pairing to go with these fried oyster buns.
All right, all done.
Oh, those look so good. All right, we're gonna eat these, and when we come back, Josh has an awesome leftover idea.
What are you dreaming about? Wake up to Town & Country Federal Credit Union. If you can dream it, we can finance it without stressing your budget. Sweet dreams begin at tcfcu.com.
Today's leftover ideas are brought to you by Town & Country Federal Credit Union, helping you stretch your food dollars.
Welcome to today's leftover idea. So there's so many different recipes for oyster chowder. I mean, my grandmother made a great one. My old chef, Phil Lerner at the Balsams, had an incredible one. I have a recipe that we're gonna put online, but I wanna take a little play on words and we're gonna make some oyster crackers for the leftover idea. So I have a dough here, very simple dough. It's only about 4 or 5 ingredients. And then I use a pizza cutter after I roll it out. And you could cut squares or diamonds or little circle cutters out of these. Now I've infused these crackers with some fennel seed and dill seed, so they're gonna have that nice kind of licorice and seafood-esque aroma. And this is what they'll look like when they come out. Nice and crisp, right? Nice and crunchy. All those nice herbs are in there. I've added some to our chowder here. A little dill, some celery. Oh, perfect.
I love that you're making these. So a while ago, we filmed a whole episode down at Slack Tide Sea Salt, and this is one of their fisherman blends. And $1 from each jar of this goes to support the Maine Coast Fishermen's Association, and certainly that feeds into the oyster conversation we're having and how important it is to maintain these beautiful waters that we're so lucky to have here. And this really tastes great.
Thanks so much to Hancock Lumber for letting us use this beautiful kitchen.
And thanks so much for watching. Remember, all of our recipes are on platethestate.com, and all of our episodes are also on our YouTube channel. Cheers to wherever your appetite takes you, and we'll see you next time.
Hello, sunshine, won't you come in? It's been so long since I've seen that smile. Oh, and I'd be grateful if you would walk.
And I'm Mike Gaffney, that's M-I-K-E, Gaffney, G-A-F-F-N-E-Y.
Right?
I was wondering if you'd pick up on that. Yeah, Noah is my foodie grandson. I'm pretty sure he'll either end up as a chef or a food blogger.
I just recently cooked high-grade Wagyu from Australia that I got.
See what I mean? I don't know what that is.
Ready?
You have like flour. I hope it's flour.
Got it? Ready for the party.
I'm ready for the party. So when we, that's weird. And we'll see.
Nope.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 5.
Wait, what?
Won't you